Alright guys, here comes the second half of the video. Well, hopefully it's not a second half, but the last third, maybe. I did problems number 1 through 14 on the previous video, but then I had to stop it. So this video will pick up with problem number 15. Okay. So now we are solving by factoring. I'm going to zoom in. We're going to solve by factoring, and that's different than just factoring. In the previous problems, we just factored and stopped. These were not equations, and the directions didn't say anything about solving, because you can only solve an equation. So we were just factoring completely and stopping. But this is different. We're solving, these are equations, so we are going to factor, like it says, but we're not going to just stop after that. We're going to set the factors equal to 0. But first, it needs to be in standard form. So this 7x needs to get over there, and the 2 needs to get over there as well. I can accomplish that by subtracting 7x from both sides. So that would be, 15x squared minus 7x equals 2. And then I could subtract 2 from both sides. So that will give me 15x squared minus 7x minus 2 equals 0. Now I factor. I look for the common factor. There's not one. So I will go ahead and do my binomial times binomial thing. Looking at the 15, that's probably going to be 3x and times 5x. Alright, could be 15 and 1, but I'm betting on 3x and 5x. Then I'm looking at the 2. Well, that can only be 1 times 2, but the order matters, so if this doesn't work, I'll do 2 times 1. Now, the inner plus the outer must equal the middle. So inner, I have 5x. Outer, I have 6x. Okay? And I'm trying to get a middle of negative 7x. Well, there's no way I'm going to get negative 7 out of 5 and 6, no matter how I pick the signs. So that means it must be the other way. It must be 2 and 1. So let's check that out. Alright, well, if I go with that option, then inner, now I have 10x. Outer, I have 3x. And I'm trying to get negative 7. I can get negative 7 out of this if I get a negative 10 and a positive 3. That would make negative 7. Putting a negative here would give me a negative 10 inner, and putting a positive here would give me a positive 3 outer. And a negative times a positive is a negative, so it works. Okay. Now that I have it factored right, I keep going. I'm solving an equation now. So I'm going to set these two factors equal to 0, like 3x minus 2 equals 0, and 5x plus 1 equals 0. So adding 2 to both sides, so I get 3x equals 2. Alright, if I divide both sides by 3, then I get x equals 2/3. I'm running out of space. I'll squeeze it in over here. X equals 2/3. So that is one solution. Meanwhile, over here, I subtract 1 from both sides. So I have 5x equals negative 1. And then I divide by 5 on both sides. And I get x equals negative 1/5. So that is my other solution. Okay. Look at number 16. Same type of deal. This 10x needs to get over there in the middle. So minus 10x on both sides. So that'll give me 3x squared minus 10x plus 3 is equal to 0. Okay. There are no common factors, so I will go ahead and do my binomial times binomial thing. 3x squared is going to be 3x times x. 3 is going to be 3 times 1. Now I won't put the 3 here because that would make a common factor. I will go straight to 1 and 3. Now inner, that gives me 1x. Outer, I have 9x. Alright, inner plus outer must equal middle. So I'm shooting for negative 10. Now I can get negative 10 if both of these are negative. That means both of these would have to be negative. And a negative times a negative is a positive, so it's working. So now I have it factored. So I keep going though because I'm solving an equation this time. So I will do 3x minus 1 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0. Adding 1 to both sides, so I give 3x equals 1. So if I divide by 3, then I get x equals 1/3. Okay, meanwhile over here, if I add 3 to both sides, I get x equals 3. So these are the two solutions for number 16. I feel like I need a line to separate these. Okay, finally number 17. Again, this 12 needs to get over here, so I'm going to add 12 to both sides. So that's going to give me 6x squared minus 17x plus 12 equals 0. That's a prime number, so no common factor. So once again, I go straight to binomial times a binomial. Now this 6x squared is either going to be 2 times 3, or it could be 1 times 6. This 12 could either be 3 times 4, or it could be 2 times 6, or it could be 1 times 12. So I've got a lot of options. I will start with the 2 times 3 and the 3 times 4. Okay, so starting with the 2 times 3, so I'm talking about 2x and 3x. And then starting with the 3 times 4, notice I would not do it the other way around. I wouldn't try 4 here, because that would make a common factor with the 2. And I wouldn't put a 3 here, because that would make a common factor with the 3. Instead, I would definitely do this order, 3 and 4. Now, inner plus outer has to equal middle. Inner, I have 9x. Outer, I have 8x. Oh, look at that, because I'm trying to get negative 17, and I can. If both of these are negative, that would make negative 17. That would mean both of these would be negative, and a negative times a negative is a positive, so it is working. All right, get rid of that now. So I go ahead and set these equal to 0. So I do 2x minus 3 equals 0, and 3x minus 4 equals 0. Adding 3 to both sides, I get 2x equals 3. All right, then if I divide by 2, then I get x equals 3 over 2. All right, meanwhile over here, if I add 4 to both sides, I get 3x equals 4. Okay, if I divide both sides by 3, I get x equals 4 over 3. So that's how you do number 17. Okay, looking at number 18. We're supposed to do these by completing the square. For this one, they were nice enough to already leave the 3 over there on the right. I'm just going to recopy it so that I'm leaving a space for myself. And since there's no number in front, I can immediately complete the square. Half the middle squared. Half of this is 4. 4 squared is 16. and I have to do it to both sides. So this is going to give me the same thing twice when I factor. X minus 4, x minus 4. And okay, it's looking like 19. That will make x minus 4 squared if I want, and I do. Okay, now I can unsquare this using a radical. So I can take the square root of both sides. Please don't forget your plus or minus. So that will give me x minus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 19. But then we need to add 4 to both sides. But this 4 goes in the front. So I will have x equals 4 plus or minus radical 19. Now because this is a radical, that's as far as I can go. Alright? If this were a perfect square like 16, I would take the square root of 16 and get 4, and I would keep going. I would add and subtract 4. Alright, over here, this 25 is in my way, so I will subtract it. So that's going to give us x squared minus 6x equals negative 25. Time to complete the square. Alright, half the middle squared. Half of this is 3. 3 squared is 9, which I add to both sides. Alright, I can see I'm going to get a negative number over there. It's going to be imaginary. This will factor as the same thing twice. X minus 3, x minus 3. This is going to make negative 16. Okay, so then I have x minus 3 squared is equal to negative 16. Alright, but then it's time to take the square root of both sides, like this. Do not forget your plus or minus. Now, when you have a negative under the radical, you bring the negative out as an I. So I'm going to have x minus 3 equals plus or minus I times the square root of 16. But that immediately will turn into 4i, because the square root of 16 is 4. And the I comes last when you have a regular number. And the last step, please don't forget the I. Some kids just erase the negative and pretend it didn't happen. We have to add 3 to both sides, and it must go in the front. Okay, so I'm going to have x equals 3 plus or minus 4i. Because of the I, that's as far as we can go. So that would be the answer. Okay? Alright, and then there's number 20. Again, they were nice enough to leave that 19 over there. I'm just going to rewrite it, leaving myself a little more space to complete the square. Half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. Which I will add to both sides. This will now factor as the same thing twice. X plus 1, x plus 1. And that's going to be 20. So that gives me x plus 1 squared is equal to 20. But then I can take the square root of both sides. Okay, plus or minus. So that is going to give me x plus 1 is equal to plus or minus. Now, square root of 20, if you put it in your calculator, I mean, I can do it in my head because I'm cool like that. Square root of 20 is 2 root 5. Alright, so subtracting 1 from both sides, put it in the front, please. That's going to give me x equals negative 1 plus or minus 2 radical 5. And because of the radical, that's as far as we can go with that. Okay, so this is the answer. None of these were able to go any further, but please understand, for example, if this I hadn't been here, then I would have done this 3 plus or minus 4 would have become 3 plus 4 and 3 minus 4. 3 plus 4 would have been 7, 3 minus 4 would have been -1, and I would have had two regular looking solutions. So none of these worked out that way because this one had an I and the others had radicals, but you never know. It could turn out to be normal numbers. Okay, now I have a meeting. I'm actually 5 minutes late too. So even though I only have these 3 problems left, I'm going to have to pause this video, and I don't know if I will be back in time. So we'll see what happens as far as the video goes.